Yo, what's good? My name's Kang, like Kangaroo. I'm a Canadian that's currently living and working in Seattle as a software engineer. And on this channel, we explore strategies and techniques that folks in tech can take advantage of in order to reach fire faster, while also having some fun along the way. And this video is a little bit special because today is my birthday. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, it's not actually my birthday, but for the plot's sake, let's say that it is. Now, before we start, I just want to emphasize that this video in no way is a flex. And you have to believe me when I say I'm not trying to make this video to boast about my bag. I honestly just want to use my small but growing platform to shed some light onto financial transparency and financial literacy. All right, with all that boring disclaimer stuff out of the way, we can get right into the meat of it. So on my 25th birthday, my net worth was $265,129.14. But let's say $265K to make it easy. So the majority of this money is in USD, and I have some Canadian sprinkled in here or there, and I'll make sure to point that out for you guys. So first up, we have cash. So in total, I have around $11,400 in cash, and this represents roughly 4% of my net worth. The majority of this cash is in USD, but I do have some Canadian dollars sitting in a Canadian bank account just to pay for my student loans, which I'll touch on a little later. Now, having a relatively small cash percentage of my net worth actually works out pretty well for me. My monthly budget for the stuff that I need to live, which is like the essentials, rent, food, that kind of stuff, is around $2,000 a month. So with that in mind, I have roughly a 3 to 4 month emergency fund, and then on top of that, I have some extra fun money to spend on whatever I'd like. Now, I think this works well for me because I run pretty lean. I don't have a car, I don't have a house, and I literally have zero obligations other than to feed myself and to pay my rent. All right, with cash out of the way, let's talk about investments. In total, I have $248,436.27 spread across a bunch of different investment accounts. This represents roughly 90% of my net worth, and the majority of it is in USD. If I'm going to be honest, my investing is really boring. I mostly invest into low fee index funds, so there's not going to be a ton of fun stuff, I guess. But if we want to talk specifics, my 401k is made up of 90% VTI and 10% of an international growth fund. My Roth IRA and my M1 Finance is both 100% VTI, which, by the way, VTI is like the total stock market fund that I was talking about. And my brokerage account with Fidelity is a 60-40 split between Microsoft stock and VTI. So that covers the US investment section. Like I said, the majority of my money is in US, but I do have some Canadian brokerage accounts, which I'll go over right now. Inside my Canadian brokerage account, I have 80% of my funds in an ETF called XGROW. XGROW is an ETF that tracks the US market, the Canadian market, and the international market, and rebalances the portfolios to keep certain percentages every once in a while. Another 10% of my Canadian investment is tied up into spot ETFs for Bitcoin and Ethereum, and the last 10% is actually bag holding some individual stocks, GME. Now, even though my investment strategy is pretty boring, it has done pretty well for me over the last year. Year to date, I'm up almost 15% in all my accounts that is directly VTI, but in my American brokerage account, which has Microsoft stock and VTI, I'm up like 38% because of Microsoft's recent AI buzz. And last year when I was making this video, I remember having unrealized losses that were pretty big, like within like the 5-figure range. So it's nice to see that my portfolio has kind of bounced back from that. Like I said, my portfolio has done well over the past year, but the majority of my growth has come from me contributing directly to my investments. Now, the reason that I'm able to invest this much and this often is mostly because I have a well-paying job and my expenses are pretty low, but I've always made a very conscious effort to pay myself first. If we're going to be real, I don't really check my net worth and I don't really look at my investments. The only time I do a deep dive and like really add everything up is on my birthday every single year, because for me, I know that investing is a long-term game, and looking at the fluctuations day to day, seeing my net worth go up and down doesn't really do anything for my mental health. It honestly leaves me with more stress than I'd like. Speaking of market fluctuations, let's move on to crypto. In total, I have $15,987.73 invested into crypto, which is around 6% of my portfolio. Now, the majority of my crypto is stored on a hardware wallet, but I do have some that is on the exchange still, which I have not yet moved, which I will do after I'm finished filming this. 57% of my crypto is Bitcoin, another 40% is in Ethereum, and then the last 3% is split between Cardano and Dogecoin. As you've probably seen, Bitcoin took a big fall last year, I think around the June time, because that's when I made the video and I checked my portfolio. I'm like, hey, why did I lose so much money? So since then, it's bounced around between the 20K to the 30K range. Now, just because Bitcoin and Ethereum are low, that does not stop my investment strategy. Last year, I believe I was investing around $50 each week into Bitcoin and Ethereum. In the last couple of months, I've increased it to $100 each week into both of them. So all in all, adding up all my assets, we get a total of $275,619.77. But I still have some outstanding student loan debt. Like some of you may know, I graduated from computer engineering at McMaster University, which is a university in Canada, which left me with a bill of around $60,000 Canadian, or like, I don't know, $45,000 US. So in order to pay for school, I took some student loans, and what I have left is roughly $10,500 USD. Now, the way that Canadian student loans works is that it's split into a federal portion and a provincial portion. And the federal portion is the bigger part of the two for me. So the Canadian government recently announced that they're getting rid of the interest rate on the federal portion of the loan, which is pretty sick. But I still have to pay interest on the provincial portion, which is around 7% right now. Currently, I've been only paying the minimums on both of them, but I've been meaning to pay off the provincial portion, but if I'm being honest, I've been really lazy and haven't gone around to doing it. So totaling up all my assets and then subtracting all my debts, which is the student loan, in total, my net worth is $265,129.14, which is that magic number that I said earlier. So looking back on the previous year and at my previous video, I predicted that my net worth would grow from $134,000 on my 24th birthday to $200,000 on my 25th birthday. And as we can see, we kind of blew that goal out of the water. Now, to be fair, at the time of making my previous video, everyone was screaming recession. Market was looking pretty bad. I was down I think 20K, 30K. But like they say, economists predict 9 out of the last 5 recessions. And there is no secret to my financial success here. Aside from having a well-paying job, which I'll admit is probably the majority of it. All I do is invest a lot and invest often, which you can see through my monthly budgeting videos. 24 was a pretty good year for me. I did a lot of traveling, I got promoted at work, and I made some really good memories. And despite things going really well for me on paper, looking back, I remember this constant feeling of, feeling lost or feeling alone in this whole world, I guess. And I think a lot of these feelings for me in particular have rolled over from when I was 23 or 24. I had just graduated university, I moved to America for work, and it was the first time in my life where, I truly had free will. But with what I'll call free will came all of life's big questions. What am I doing with my life? What is my purpose? What makes me happy? And for me in particular, more recently, what am I going to do with my whole entire green card situation? And by the way, if you're wondering if I have the answers to any of those questions, don't ask me because I don't know. And I feel like the past year at 24, a lot of the answers to those questions never really became clear to me, and I'm willing to bet at 26 they still won't be clear to me either. And I remember when I turned 24, I was super freaked out. I felt really old because I was in my mid-20s. But now that I'm actually in the middle of 20 and 30, I don't feel young, I don't feel old, and to be honest, I just don't really care. And to me right now, my life kind of feels like I'm in a limbo. I'm not in school anymore, so I'm in work. But I'm not in work for that long, so I'm not that experienced. But I'm not new, so I guess I'm just working. And in the same way, I'm at home right now in Canada, my home. But I've been away for so long that this place doesn't really feel like home anymore. But my house in Seattle, I feel like I haven't been there long enough where I feel like that's my home either. So where's my home? So it's these sort of things kind of all bubbling up where it makes me feel like I'm just living life. There's nothing else to it. It's just life. You know what I mean? I don't really know how to explain it. Maybe that's a bad explanation, but anyways. And also sitting here reflecting, looking back at 24, I remember all of those decisions where I had regrets. And we're going to talk specifically about monetary regrets because this is a personal finance YouTube channel. But I guess regrets in general. I shouldn't have bought this, I shouldn't have done that, I shouldn't have wasted my money on this, etc., etc., etc. All these things I'm thinking about, right? And in the same way, thinking forward to 25 and onward to 26, 27, you're thinking about my net worth, where am I going to buy a house? You know what I mean? What is the future going to look like? It just gets me anxious, right? Now, I don't know if you experience similar things, my friend, whoever you are out there in the world on the internet, but one quote that I go back to all the time that helps me kind of stay grounded in all of this is ironically from Master Oogway in Kung Fu Panda, which I really like. I actually do like it. But he says,
"Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That is why it is called the present."
So with that in mind, in the later half of 24, I really try to live more in the moment and, do things that would make me happy rather than, save for the future, blah, 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 blah. And to be honest, I think it's been a lot better for me. Now, reflection is useless without some kind of growth or forward thinking. So here are my goals for 2025 and onwards. Financially, I want to hit 350K net worth. This is entirely possible, but I think depends a lot on the stock market. I would also like to divest a little bit from stocks and have a higher percentage in cash so that I could potentially buy an investment property sometime in 2024. I'd also like to increase the percentage that I have allocated towards Bitcoin and Ethereum. I'll probably do that by upping my contributions from $100 to $200 each month. In my personal life, I want to travel more. I did a ton of traveling at 24, and I have some big vacations planned at the end of the year. So I want to keep traveling. I really enjoy it. I also want to keep working on this YouTube channel to hit 1K subs. And more importantly than that, I want to make better videos and I want to make more videos. So hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. Professionally, my role has really grown into something that I really enjoy. So I want to keep on learning and gaining that domain expertise and taking more ownership of what I'm working on. And I want to emphasize again that I really am so lucky and grateful to be in this position. I really think that understanding your privilege is important and understanding all those advantages that you had in your life. And if you want to understand some of my personal advantages, you can watch this video right here where I go over how I was able to grow my salary from $11 an hour to $80 an hour.